Last property that we need to deal with exponents is when we have an exponent that is then raised to an exponent. So what we've dealt with so far is something like this, where we have a constant or a variable that has an exponent. An exponent having an exponent would look something like this. There we already have something that has an exponent, but that whole entire thing that includes the exponent then has an exponent to it. And the way to deal with this is by multiplying. No matter how many exponents that you raise this to, all you have to do is multiply the exponents, and that takes care of everything. So in this case, we would have 2 times 3, which would give us x to the 6. This is different from multiplying exponents. Multiplying exponents would look something like this. 2 plus 3 giving us x to the 5th. But what we have is an exponent raised to an exponent, and that's where you have to multiply. Now, it doesn't matter how many things are in the parentheses. If you have more than one thing, they're all going to get it. You can kind of think of it as distributing. So this 3 is going to get multiplied to each one of these exponents. So 2 times 3 is going to give us y to the 6. 3 times 3 is going to give us x to the 9th. And 4 times 3 is going to give us z to the 12th. And that becomes your final answer. Now the same would hold true if you have a constant. Any sort of base that has an exponent, the rule still applies. So in this case, it would be 2 times 4, giving you 3 to the 8th. Now, where most people make a mistake with this is there'll be a coefficient in front of a variable and it won't have an exponent written with it. So we'd have something like this, 3x to the 4th, all squared. The common mistake, and this is not what we want to do, would be 3x to the 8. What people always forget is that this coefficient right here does in fact have an exponent, has an exponent of 1. We never write it similar to the fact that we never write a 1 exponent for a variable, but it still exists. So what we end up with is 1 times 2 giving us 3 squared, and then x, 4 times 2, x to the 8. Don't forget to simplify this again at the end, because you do have a number that has a variable, so everything there can be simplified. So 3 squared is 9, 9x to the 8. The other mistake that people will make with this sometimes is they'll go and take the 3 and just multiply it by 2. They'll forget about the exponent and they'll just multiply these two, so they'd end up with 6x to the 8. And that, again, is wrong. You don't multiply the coefficient times the exponent. You multiply its exponent times the other exponent.